Right. So what I'm going to be talking about is my personal spectrum of ability, um, how I interact with my environment, physically, sensory, cognitively, socially, and emotionally. And then I'm going to kind of reflect on how these are identified through the different theoretical models discussed in class. Right. So how I personally experience my levels of ability. I mean, I'm fairly active, right? I exercise. I don't have any limitations really on what I could do. I could come up and down stairs. Um, I could go shopping, right? I could get up and down off the floor. I'm able to hug my kids and play with them, right? So I'm not very limited in that department. I am getting older, so I'm beginning to experience the cracks and creaks that come with age, and I'm also beginning to experience how my energy levels are decreasing, right, fairly dramatically. As far as sensory and how I interact with my environment, um, my hearing is fine, right? I'm able to hear most everything. Considering I've worked in mostly very loud places my whole life, but as I talked about earlier, I'm getting older, so my eyesight, right, I have to wear these things because if I don't, I can't read, and I can't see things close up, and yeah, so a reminder that I'm getting older. Cognitive as well, right? My ability to kind of memorize things, as it were, or remember like written text that I've read. I have to sometimes read it a couple times. I don't know, this might be also something that's gone undiagnosed with me, right? Because when I was younger, I just didn't, what's it called, apply myself. And as I'm looking back, it might have something to do with the way I process information, right? As we go forward in our understanding of kind of mental health and things like that and learning disabilities, um, there might be something to that because I know still I have to double read things. I have to kind of, I don't know, I don't know how to explain it. Socially, when we talk about social interactions, I experience internalized and external limitations as I try and interact in social situations and my social environment. Um, I suffered lifelong problem with substance use disorder, and since I've ceased or entered into recovery, my social interaction is is limited. I really suffer from a sense of othering. I mean, and I internalize this to a great deal, right? I couldn't understand that. They couldn't understand me. Um, so instead of trying to interact, or I don't. How do I say? I'm unable to like introduce myself to people, have a casual conversation, um, because of the hindrances and the truths that I carry with me through my lived experience, right? Many of them probably guilt tied to them, some of the things that I've been a part of and seen are not what you'd consider uh, socially acceptable. So I own that, and therefore I feel I'm not socially acceptable. Therefore, I keep myself on the outskirts of the mainstream. It's it's lonely, right? Um, It's lonely, but it's something I'm working on overcoming. School helps me a lot in that, right? Because I'm forced to interact, and I find that people don't see me any different than just another student or just another colleague, um, which is liberating for me, right? So I also, as far as social goes, because of the life I lived in my substance use and poverty and where I grew up, there's a criminal aspect to it, right? And there's a criminal history tied to it. Um, and what that does is it creates barriers for me interacting in kind of a normal way, right? So if you go to a job, right, background check, all right, many jobs, they say, oh, we're not looking for what you got or whatever right now. Right? And they don't have to disclose why, um, but guaranteed, more often than not, it's because of my criminal history. Um, I can't volunteer uh, for my child at my child's school, right? Because I have a felony of a violent nature, and right, so it limits it. So here again, these aren't so much right. These are more the social disabilities, right? Social model, social theory, um, and emotional, right? Right. This is the piece. This is the piece that kind of ties them all together, right? Um, Due to my lived experience, right, I feel like an outsider in my own life, right? I don't feel that I'm truly welcome, right? I don't feel that I'm allowed. Um, Maybe it's me that puts these barriers up, right? But I don't believe that's 100% true 100% of the time. So I know I have these lived experiences that aren't norm, right? Not the norm, not our social norms in our society, but there is a common belief in our society that there's a saying, once a convict, always a convict. And I find many people outside of kind of the helping professions or the social circles and programs I interact with believe that, right? And don't believe that people deserve second chances. And therefore, um, we are systemically marginalized, right? And because the people in the system that are making the laws and direct the policies, limit our access to different things, right? So, right, how does this play into how I see disability, right? Well, I'll tell you this much, right? Even though the class is only halfway through, um, how I understand disability, right, is changing, right? I mean, the idea, we watched a video, I think first or second class, that said, um, I'm not disabled, my society disables me, right? With the, I mean, it's true, right? If I can't walk, I mean, I can't have a house specially built for me to allow me to get in and out, right? I could add stuff onto a house, but houses are built the way houses are built, right? So, I mean, so the definition of disability, right? For me and abilities, right? My level of ability, um, right? If we want to talk about like my emotional or my cognitive, or I mean, let's just how emotional interacts with my physical, right? I mean, right? There are places I won't go, right? Because the way I feel won't allow me to feel like I belong or normal in that situation, right? Um, I become lonely, right? because right, I don't go places that I don't think I belong, right? So I'm limiting myself by my own preconceptions of abilities and lack of ability, right? And how those two play into my life. Again, right? The understanding is growing, right? And my perceptions of my own limitations are changing as we go forward. And even in the couple weeks that we've been in this class, right, I'm understanding the different levels and different interactions within life and the world that ableism is playing. Um, I really don't know. I don't know truly what my personal spectrum of ability is, right? Um, it's decreasing because I'm getting older, right? I'm starting to get old guy problems, right? But at the same thing, my inhibitions are decreasing, I guess. I really just don't care that much anymore, right? So my interaction and my ability to reach out and ask for things and help and offer things and help are increasing, right? So it's definitely not static, right? How I see my abilities, and I think that's a key takeaway, right? I think that's a key takeaway. I mean, whether it be defined under a medical model or social model or even cultural theory, right? Right? It's not static. It's a continuum, right? So we'll all move, I think, different places along this continuum as we progress in our lives. And it's important to remember and not take for granted when you're up one day or because you'll be down the next, right? Because again, it's movement. So that's it. Thank you.